to a new season of Tide TV This Week. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by Kira Goldstein. And Kira, students are back on campus. It's September. Everything's starting to get a little more back to normal here at the Capstone.
Absolutely. It's so exciting. We got a lot to cover this week.
We certainly do, and everyone's excited for the start of football because it is now official. Football season is upon us. The Alabama Crimson Tide football team returned to the practice field on August 17th to begin fall camp as the team prepares for the 2020 season. After a couple of weeks on the practice fields at the Malmore Athletic Complex, Crimson Tide would enter Bryant-Denny Stadium for the first time during fall camp on Saturday, as the Tide held its first scrimmage of the fall after, again, all the week on the Thomas Drew practice fields. Now, after Saturday's scrimmage, the Crimson Tide had Sunday and Monday off before returning to practice on Tuesday.
Yeah, and on Monday, the team took part in a march to Foster Auditorium. Now, the team began their walk at the Malmore Athletic Complex and ended at Foster Auditorium, where members of the team, along with Coach Saban and leaders from the university, shared their thoughts.
To the athletes, today you give me bragging rights around what I see for the future of our campus, the future of our nation, the future of our state. You come here today. You have stood tall and you have demonstrated.
It takes each and every individual to move as one. We don't want revenge. We just want fairness and equality, which is something we can all achieve by togetherness.
Through this process, I've learned a lot from our players. You know, I don't get to see the world through the same lens that a lot of our players do. And I think I respect and appreciate the lens that they see the world in, they live the world in. So I'm very proud and supportive of what they are trying to say in a peaceful and intelligent way.
As we've seen through history, one man or one woman can have a profound impact. A team working together can have an unlimited influence.
I heard someone say to me one time, it's hard to hate up close. And that really stuck with me. Our goal is to be more than a uniform to you all.
As students on a college campus, we must educate ourselves and use that power to create equal opportunity that we deserve.
We all have to do better. You never know what one kind gesture will do for someone.
For the past few months have brought a greater focus to issues that have been prevalent in society for years. This is not a problem that will simply come and go in a news cycle. It is not a problem that will eventually dissipate without action. Being here today is a huge step, but I ask you, what's next?
This week, the kickoff times and TV schedules were announced for 5 of the Tide's regular season games. Of the 5 that were announced, the Crimson Tide will play 3 of those on CBS and the other 2 on ESPN. Now, Alabama opens the season against Missouri in Columbia at 6 p.m. on ESPN.
The following weekend, Alabama has their home opener against Texas A&M at 2:30 on CBS. After traveling to Oxford, the Tide then hosts the Georgia Bulldogs in a big primetime matchup on CBS. That kickoff is scheduled for 7 o'clock.
On Halloween, Alabama hosts Mississippi State for a night game on ESPN. After the bye week, the Crimson Tide will return to action. They will travel to Baton Rouge to take on LSU, and that game will be a 5 o'clock kickoff on CBS.
The remaining kickoff times and the TV schedules for the Crimson Tide will be announced at a later date. How have the Crimson Tide been preparing for fall sports during the pandemic? We'll have that answer and much more as we have an in-depth conversation with Alabama's Director of Athletics, Greg Byrne, when we return.
Tide TV This Week is presented by Ford. For great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. This is Roger Hoover, now joined by the Director of Athletics for the University of Alabama, Greg Byrne. And Greg, it's good to see you. Roll Tide, if you could just briefly take us through what the last 5 months have been like trying to get ready for this academic year.
Hey, Roger, good to see you. Yeah, Roll Tide indeed. 5 months like we've never gone through. I know that, and that's the case for everybody watching this too. Obviously in March, when everything kind of turned upside down, we were at the SEC men's basketball tournament in Nashville to where we sit here today. Has been a lot of planning, a lot of supporting, a lot of really trying to maneuver some waters that there is no guide to. and our university, our system, our coaches, our staff, and our student athletes have really done a remarkable job of adjusting to what's going on, and our fans have too. I think if I would have said in March that we're going to send out a season ticket form for football that basically that only 20% of you come to the games, I may have had to have Secret Service protection to get out of my office. But in reality, our fans have really done a remarkable job of understanding the realities of where we are right now, which we genuinely appreciate. And so it's been a very challenging time. I have a sign in the hallway here back in my office here that says "This too shall pass," and it will. And then obviously with all the social unrest as well, trying to support our student athletes, trying to support our coaches and staff, and here our fans too. And I've said this when I spoke the other day at our rally, that it's something where athletics brings people together, and from all different backgrounds, and to when I said this, I was saying this about myself. What can we do to bring the passion, to bring the unity that we feel in our stadiums and our arenas, on our fields, our courts, our pools, our courses, and bring that into our daily life, and what takes place there. And if each of us can do that, and again, right back at myself, that helps in our ability to move forward. And I've learned a lot through listening and talking, but heavy on the listening part to our student athletes, and listening to some of our coaches and staff that I had more in-depth conversations with than what I'd had before. And I've learned a lot, and it's been valuable for me personally.
Looking at the challenges of trying to play sports in a pandemic, what are some of the testing and medical protocols in place for our athletes? And then how has fall practice been going for the different sports that are back on campus?
Well, it's been fun to see them practicing again. I'm fortunate I can look right outside my window here and watch our football team practice, but I've been able to watch a lot of our teams work out, whether it's in the weight room or with what they're doing in their facilities. And we've been very aggressive from a testing standpoint. We have been able to get pretty good testing supplies, and we've also been able to get results within 24 hours. And so that's been good. So we've continued to ramp up our testing. We just did a large group this morning. We're doing that on several days a week, which has been good. For our fall sports, we will be at a minimum of 2 times a week, and most likely 3 times a week when they start their competition.
What can you tell us about the construction projects going on at Bryant-Denny Stadium, also at the Mount Moore facility? The Sports Science Center looks tremendous.
Yeah, we're really proud of everything that's been happening and developing here. The Sports Science Center is a separator for us to show, we talk about recruiting, and we talk to our student athletes about that we care about them in all aspects, academically, athletically, and socially, and developing who they are. And the Sports Science Center is something nobody else in the country has. And what we do from a mental health standpoint, what we do from a recovery standpoint with the cryotherapy, with what we do with virtual reality, sleep and rest and recovery, those are all very, very important part of them being able to develop who they are in the best possible manner in every aspect of their life.
Before we let you go, you announced the Crimson Core Fund over the summer. What can you tell us about the Crimson Core Fund?
Well, we've had a lot of our supporters say, hey, I may not be able to come to the games this year. What can I do to support? We have already made a lot of significant financial steps, some of which we've been public about, some of which we haven't been as much as but we have been trying to find savings wherever we can. Obviously, the revenue we get from a ticket and donation standpoint through Tide Pride is a huge part of our budget each year. And so when you talk about 20% capacity, that's going to have an impact on what we do. And we know how important our university and our athletic department and our programs are to the state of Alabama. And so we're asking for those who can this year, can they help us get us through this? And the Crimson Core Fund is going to go support the core principles of what we do with our student athletes from an academic support standpoint, scholarships, nutrition, mental health, strength and conditioning, all those things that are vital for them to be the best student athlete they possibly can be.
Greg, thank you for joining us. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thanks, Roger.
All right, that's Director of Athletics Greg Byrne for the University of Alabama. Stay with us. We'll take our first look at the Crimson Tide's new Sports Science Center. That's coming up next, right here on Tide TV This Week.
Tide TV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made.
We are so excited about this area and about this facility. It just speaks to the commitment of our administration to the welfare of our student athletes. So let's go take a look at what we have. So this is our new athletic training room here. Right here in the front, right when you walk in the door, two of our athletic trainers, Jen and Jake, that are here to take care of our guys all the time. And then as we move through the room here, you can see, and you see all the signs, they're supposed to be wearing their masks, right? So we have a taping area here for our guys every day before practice, before workouts, when they're going to get taped up and get ready to go in terms of trying to prevent foot, ankle, and lower leg injuries. So let's move through the room and we'll look here. So this is just our general treatment area here. We have 16 treatment tables with all kind of different therapeutic modalities that we use on our athletes. So this gives us a ton of space and a ton of different options to treat our athletes and give them the best possible care that we can. And really what I wanted to show, in addition to the treatment area and the taping area, was our rehab area. And the best person to do that is Jeremy Giselle. Jeremy's our director of rehab. He's been at Alabama for close to 15, 16 years now. Does a phenomenal job coordinating the rehab of our football team. Take it from there, Jeremy.
So as Jeff Allen said, this is the rehab area. And when we designed this place, we wanted to be able to have a place from the very beginning, most basic rehab, to the most advanced return to play, aggressive exercises that we need to do to get these guys ready to play football. So there's a couple of features of this area, this rehab area, that we wanted to kind of highlight to show how we're doing that. The first is the floor. We wanted to put a place where we could do the most basic exercises to the most functional exercises all in one place. We didn't want to have to go to different places in the building to do the same exercises. We wanted to do everything in this room. So we have this functional floor. It's a very slip resistant surface that we can do a lot of straight line functional exercises, a lot of change of direction exercises. We incorporated a ladder that we can use to do change of direction exercises without having to worry about a piece that you could step on and roll your ankle or slip on or anything like that. We incorporated lanes into this floor so that we can do exercises straight ahead. We also incorporated some measure marks. So these are foot measure marks, and what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to do jump measurements. So the biggest component to getting guys back from rehab is to measure right to left symmetry, and jump tests are one key component to return to play. So we wanted to be able to have a fast, efficient way to do everything in one place, and that's kind of how we designed this floor.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. Football isn't the only sport getting ready for fall competition. The SEC released start dates for cross country, soccer, and volleyball this past week. Cross country will have 2 to 3 events from September 11th through October 23rd. Soccer will play 8 contests between September 18th, with volleyball also playing 8 matches, with their season beginning on October 16th. And to talk about the upcoming soccer season for the Crimson Tide, Roger is joined now by soccer head coach Wes Hart. Roger?
Thanks, Kira. We're joined now by Coach Hart. And Coach, this has been just months and months of uncertainty for your soccer team, but how excited are you now? You at least know the start date. You know some games are coming up for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, it's awesome. We came in to preseason with a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. I think that long layoff, just being back together was enough of a reason to be excited. And now that we've been training for 4 weeks, and I don't know if I'd say we hit a lull, but we're certainly ready for some outside competition. And the fact that we do have a start date, September 18th, circled on our calendar, we're excited to be closer to that.
And now you do have some matches on the schedule, 8 matches. You'll play 2 as well in the SEC tournament. And now also you go to having just 1 match a week. How does that change some of your preparation getting ready for those matches?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm actually excited about it. I think when you have the 2 games a week, it's really hard to kind of get into any kind of training rhythm, because you're either it's either the day after a game and you're trying to rest and recover, or it's the day before a game and you're trying to go light. So I think with 1 game a week, I think it's going to be fun to put a little bit more preparation into each opponent, as well as train a bit harder each week.
And finally, what has you most excited about this Crimson Tide soccer team this season?
I think the depth of this group. Each year we seem to be getting deeper and deeper. We've added 6 quality freshmen that I think any one of them can make an impact. And then the other players are just a year older, a year more experience under their belt. So I think we've got a good group of players on any given day. I think any one of them could contribute.
Coach, thank you for joining us. Roll Tide. We can't wait to see the Crimson Tide hit the soccer pitch this season. Best of luck to you.
Awesome, thanks. And Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. That is head coach Wes Hart of the Alabama women's soccer program. We'll be back with more Tide TV this week, coming right up. Welcome back to Tide TV this week. As we look forward to the upcoming fall season for the Crimson Tide, let's take a look at our players to watch, brought to you by Payless Drugs. This week, we start with football.
On offense, we start with Jalen Waddle. Despite playing with 2 first-round draft choices and an All-American at wideout, as a sophomore last season, he earned 3 first-time All-American honors himself. The SEC Special Teams Player of the Year led the nation in punt returns, averaging 24.4 yards per return with a touchdown. In 2 seasons, Waddle has totaled 1,408 receiving yards with 13 touchdown receptions.
And the Crimson Tide get a big-time leader back on defense. Linebacker Dylan Moses chose to return to the capstone for his senior year. Moses missed the entire 2019 season due to an injury that occurred during fall camp. The Tide signal caller at middle linebacker earned All-America honors in 2018. As a sophomore, Moses recorded a team-high 86 tackles, including 10 for a loss with 3.5 sacks.
Those are our players to watch, brought to you by Payless Drugs.
Thanks for watching Tide TV this week. We hope to see you once again next week. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.
This has been a presentation from Learfield IMG College.